Film fans of YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Josh, your Movie Apprentice, and today I am looking at The Strangers Chapter 1. It's directed by Renny Harlin and starring Madelaine Petsch and Bown. This follows a couple who have to check into an Airbnb located in a rural town after they run into some car trouble. And from there, you know the story. A knock on the door. Is Tamara home? And a night of hell ensues. Before I get into my review, if you like seeing our channel, click that like button and subscribe for more video reviews like coming all the time. Without further ado, let's jump right into the review. So for starters, this is a remake slash reboot of the Strangers franchise. Anyone that has claimed this is a prequel to the Strangers is a complete liar, because this is almost the exact same movie as the original, but those that claim that this is a shot-for-shot remake don't know the meaning of the word shot-for-shot remake, because The Strangers Chapter 1, whilst it fails to hold a candle to that original 2008 classic, it does change things, at least in certain ways. It is very much the same movie, the same big beats play out. However, the context of the beats play out in a different way. There are new scenes added, roles are twisted, the strangers do different things in this. There are a number of changes, but by and large, it does tell the same body of a story. And I will say, for the most part, it ends up being a bit of a detriment to this movie. I'll try and keep my comparisons to the original at a minimum and look at this film on its own merits, but I will have to say, the context of the strangers that I think these three films are going to go down are going to really devalue the whole idea of the strangers. The thing about the 2008 Strangers was it was all about atmosphere. There was hardly any soundtrack. Very rarely do you have a jump scare, loud sound to make you jump out of your skin. The motivation of the strangers was complete randomness, and it felt almost real, like it could happen to anybody. That was where the terror of the strangers came in. The Strangers Chapter 1, however, leans into some old cliches in order to try and give it its own identity. There is a whole build-up sequence where they end up in this small town, and there's this weird tension between them and this small town. The two Mormon boys are handing out flyers early on, and this flyer also comes into play later on in the movie, which leads me to believe that rather than the strangers having this random motivation of because you are home, it is very much a town-wide conspiracy to kill any big towners. That is my theory going into the next couple of movies. That does rely on the next two films sticking the landing, because unfortunately they had to really pique interest with this movie, and as many people have said, it doesn't hold a candle to that original Strangers movie. Now, it's a weird one because the Strangers themselves are a group of characters that never really hit the heights of your Freddys, of your Michael Myers, of your Chuckies, but they do have that cult fan base that really adores them. And the Strangers, for me, the original one, was one of my big introductions into horror and how great horrors can be. And the big deterrent of this movie is the fact that the couples aren't very likable. The motivation of the couple is very different in this one, whereas in the original, it is a couple coming back from a wedding reception where the girlfriend has declined the proposal from the boyfriend, so there's already tension there, there's a lot of history. This one is they're driving to an interview for the woman, and they end up stopping into this small town to have some food where the car happens to break down, so they just have to rent out this Airbnb just located in the woods nearby. It is very cliche, reminiscent of them old Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. The boyfriend character in this straight up calls out the weird coincidence that the car just happens to break down at this particular moment. And another stereotypical trait they lean into in this is the fact that whilst I do believe the execution of tension and build-up of the strangers stalking the individuals works quite well. My personal favorite bit being a moment where one of them is alone in the house and they've been stalked through the house, originally thinking it is their partner, but in actual fact, it is one of the strangers. That element I quite liked. However, when it came to liking the couple themselves, there was something very off about them. Their story in this is the fact that they've been going out for 5 years now. The man has not proposed to the woman yet. They have not gotten married yet, and they are heavily judged for it in this small town. Like I say, there was a lot of build up in the early stage of the movie, setting up these townspeople, and these townspeople come back. He is not going out to get cigarettes like before and get clearing his head. He is merely just going out to get yet more food. And again, we meet some of these locals and we get to hear their disdain for these big city people, which leads me to believe that the strangers might not just be these free individuals, and it might be there's a rotation of the local townspeople that just want to mess with and kill off big town people who lack necessary survival instincts. But going back to the couple, there are a number of stupid mistakes made in this one. There are several times where most people would have snapped and at least tried to have called the police. There was even a threat of calling police after the third or fourth is Tamara here moment. And rather than following through on that, they let it slide. And then, of course, their phones will get broken a few scenes later. And there is one particular moment that, again, rhymes with the original, but whereas the original felt natural and made sense in the moment, how it's executed in this one is absolutely baffling and strikes me as one of the stupidest decisions ever made in a horror movie. There is a reason that double tap is a thing in the Zombieland universe, and this film doesn't even make the attempt to single tap, let alone double tap, when they have the opportunity to do so. That is all I'm going to say about that scene. But anyone that has seen this movie will know exactly the scene that I am talking about, and it is just very frustrating. The couple in this just are very forgetful and very stupid. There are several times they get the upper hand on the strangers, but don't follow through and take advantage of that upper hand. I rewatched the original last night ahead of doing this review, just to make sure I wasn't mistaken in the fact that this film has a number of differences to the original. It does. However, the execution strips back a lot of the tension and atmosphere in this and leans more into heavy horror tropes. The original scene of someone being in the house was a wide shot of Liv Tyler smoking, and the man in the mask just walked into the camera as in the background. It's a wide shot. There's no heavy sound drone to make you go, oh, I'm supposed to jump here. It very much just lets the uncomfortableness sit with you. This one does the full on from behind the person and someone walks past the camera because, ooh, scary. I enjoyed the build up of this movie. I like that it tried to do different things and tell a story in a different way. And I have to say as well, it feels like after The Strangers Pray at Night, where Pinup literally has two scenes and gets killed so unceremoniously, the director of this was trying their damnedest to make sure Pinup had a lot of great moments in this. She, out of the three, was hands down the standout for me, though it does feel like the doll-faced stranger does get pushed to the background a little bit. Yeah, while the film does follow the same beats as the original, it very much needs to be thought of as like a music cover. Think of it like Zombie by the Cranberries and the Bad Wolves cover. The Bad Wolves cover does the same song, but changes some of the lyrics, changes the tone and the sound of it. Doesn't hold a candle to the Cranberries one, but it is still an entertaining listen. And this, for me, was a very entertaining watch, even if our main two characters were very frustrating. I just wish this film had more trust in itself to really let the atmosphere sink. There are a lot of false jump scare moments in this that take you right back to the early 2000s. I feel like just letting the tension build up would have been excellent. The film had the potential to do that. There was one particular scene where the lights are out, someone lights a match, and a stranger is stood right behind them, and they just walk away. So if they committed to more of that stuff, this film might have been more entertaining and more scary as a result. But one big complaint I do have overall is the fact that for some reason it feels like there are several moments where the strangers seem to have almost supersonic hearing, like the slightest sound. They have the hearing of the creatures from A Quiet Place, whereas the couple, they have the same sense and awareness as the woman from Hush. For some reason, the strangers don't make any sound when they're moving through woods where there will be leaves and twigs to crack on. The floor is squeaky when the couple are walking in the wood, but when it comes to the strangers walking on the wood, there is not a sound. They are very light-footed. It's very jarring, the comparison between the two. I know it's to build up scares and build up tension, but it does feel like the film takes a lot of liberties, tries to say its own unique story, but fails to build up the same level of atmosphere and tension and just likability of our main two characters. Even the infamous "because you were home" moment doesn't feel as strong. And there was a particular sequence towards the end where the way it's cut together and the camera is edited together is implying that one of the couple and one of the strangers have seen each other and are squaring off, but it's shown to not be that case at all. And that camera trickery really throws me, and this really breaks a lot of rules of cinematography. That is very film schooly of me to say, but there are a number of rules of that just completely thrown out of the window. The way that they change the because you are home line to because you're here line, that tells me there is a bit more going off than just a random, we felt like it violence side of things that the original had. And that does take away some of the mystique of the strangers, how there is no motive behind it. It very much feels like the strangers in this new rebooted version will have a motivation. So before I get into my grade, if you do like what you're seeing on the channel, click the like button and subscribe for more of the reviews that's coming all the time. Where do you think this series is going to go, and how much were you let down by it? I'm assuming there's a lot of hardcore Strangers fans that have been let down by this movie, so do let me know what you thought down in the comments below, keeping it as civil as possible, of course. So The Strangers Chapter 1. It tells the same big story beats as the original, however, changes the context of the couple's relationship, changes the reason that they are in this isolated house in the first place, changes the ending somewhat, and really tries to make it tell the same story with the same big beats, but with its own rhythm and tone. And whilst for the first half, the tension was built up fairly nicely, and there was a nice almost whodunit element to it, the couple, for me, just needed to be way more likable than they were, and they genuinely, for me, just felt like a couple of the stupidest characters going when it comes to horror movies. I'm still interested to see where they're going to take this series going forward, but as a standalone movie, like, you need to stand on your own in order to set up the next two. The Lord of the Rings series is a textbook example how to have each installment stand on their own 2 feet and have their own iconic moments whilst telling a complete story over 3 chapters. And The Strangers Chapter 1 very much is a Diet Coke version of that 2008 original. I'm gonna have to say that for me, The Strangers Chapter 1 is a tea that needs more sugar. So The Strangers Chapter 1, have you seen it? If you haven't, you put down in the comments below. Again, you like what's in the channel, click the like button and subscribe for more videos that's coming all the time. But without further ado, my name is Josh, I have been your Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you all in the next video.